On July 18th, Ecuador's Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities, or CONAE, held its annual assembly, in which the indigenous organization voted to convoke what it calls an uprising against the government of Rafael Correa.
El movimiento indígena ha llamado a este gran levantamiento.
Esta asamblea ha dicho no al diálogo.
The decision to call for an uprising comes as conservative political forces have taken to the streets in recent weeks in protest over a number of redistributive tax initiatives, such as an inheritance tax and a capital gains tax. Some of those protests have turned violent as members of Ecuador's conservative opposition have openly called for the ouster of the democratically elected president, Rafael Correa. At first glance, it seems counterintuitive that the CONAE indigenous organization would participate in actions alongside Ecuador's conservative and elitist opposition. This is especially the case given the CONAE's radical leftist history and its role in overthrowing Ecuador's corrupt and oligarchic regimes in the early 1990s.
Bueno, en lo que se refiere a la Confederación de Nacionalidades Indígenas del Ecuador, que fue constituida en 1986, por lo tanto ha tenido la CONAE un proceso histórico en el que ha representado la resistencia de los indígenas en el Ecuador y también la lucha y las propuestas con su brazo político, el movimiento político Pachacuti.
But today's government in Ecuador is a far cry from the neoliberal chaos that ruled the country in the 1980s and 1990s. The government of Rafael Correa, which in many ways is a product of the struggles that took place in the 1990s, has been successful in reducing poverty, raising the minimum wage and living standards, and creating one of the most stable economies in Latin America. Nevertheless, the CONAE has become more and more politically antagonistic in recent years. The indigenous organization cites a number of constitutional amendments proposed by the Correa government, as well as certain environmental policies, especially in relation to mining and oil extraction, as grounds for its opposition. The CONAE leadership refuses to dialogue with the current government and instead creates alliances with right-wing sectors of the Ecuadorian opposition.
En este momento hay algunos dirigentes de esta organización que no están de acuerdo con las políticas que viene implementando la Revolución Ciudadana y ha habido algo lamentable, una coincidencia con la extrema derecha del Ecuador.
The zeal of CONAE's leadership to join the anti-government protests being led by the conservative Ecuadorian opposition has pushed many indigenous groups away from the Confederation's stance. Many indigenous leaders are more concerned with the practical, day-to-day problems facing their communities and the gains that they have made under the current government, including new media, water, and wealth distribution measures that have benefited their people. They say that CONAE's leadership has been hijacked by opportunists and that they are following a childish political strategy by refusing to engage with the government.
Ley de aguas. Nosotros venimos peleando por toda la vida para que esta ley de aguas favorezca a los más pobres de este país. La CONAE dice no. Ley de plusvalía, la última. Nosotros toda la vida peleando contra los ricos, ¿no es cierto? Para que los ricos distribuyan un poco más la riqueza. Peleando toda la vida, la CONAE dice no.
La CONAE está ahorita, por ejemplo, convocando a una movilización, incluida con la derecha. Y nosotros hemos dicho no nos vamos a preocupar esto.
Indeed, as CONAE moves closer to the conservative Ecuadorian opposition, many indigenous peoples do not even see the organization's leadership as representative of their communities. The call for an uprising on August 10th is also being seen as a contravention of the sacred nature of such a tactic used only in the most urgent of situations.
Yo fui el que coordiné el levantamiento de 1990. El levantamiento indígena es el nivel más alto en la protesta que existe. Si eso van a utilizar coincidiendo con la derecha, es que se ha vendido la dignidad de las nacionalidades, pueblos indígenas del Ecuador a la derecha. Entonces, por lo tanto, eso es gravísimo. La historia tendrá que juzgar.
There is a growing understanding that the CONAE does not have the mobilization capacity that it once did to make an uprising effective. Chances that it succeeds are indeed slim, and while the leadership of the organization is firm in its intent to challenge the government of Rafael Correa, a potential failure on this scale will certainly have political ramifications throughout indigenous organizations, and especially within the CONAE itself.